he still doesn't know what he's looking at. He still doesn't flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. This isn't me saying this. I'm not an NFL. I've never claimed to be an NFL coach. This is people in that building will tell me he still doesn't know how to flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He can only throw to wide open receivers. He doesn't make tight window throws. He doesn't throw guys open. This is not the answer. These last 2 weeks were the opportunity coming off the Titans game to show that he can be the guy against playoff contenders, and he has not lived up to it.
The narrative around Shedeur Sanders was he could not play in structure, and he was a one-throw type guy, boom or bust deep, right? But guess what? He shows you on film. The next week, he's able to come out here and throw the ball on time. The next week, we talk about running backwards. The next week, he shows he can step up in the pocket. Cosell talked about it. There's multiple. I'm not the only one to say it. Chase Daniels talks about it. Multiple quarterbacks talk about the progression. So my thing is, we can sit here and bring up a number that we looked up and said, hey, he's the worst quarterback of all time. But if you watching the game, nobody that plays the game of football, watch the game of football, or all the people that talk about it is not going to say that Shedeur Sanders is the worst quarterback they've ever seen.
The Cleveland sports media scene just exploded. Jason Lloyd came loaded with analytics, hard data designed to end the Shedeur Sanders conversation once and for all. But G. Bush wasn't having it. What followed wasn't a debate, it was a complete takedown. The Browns dropped a heartbreaker to the Buffalo Bills, 23-20. Another close game, another loss, another week watching Cleveland sink to 3-11, staring down a top 2 draft pick. And the question that's been ripping through this franchise finally reached its breaking point. Is Shedeur Sanders the answer at quarterback?
This century, by dropback per EPA, he's worse than Jamarcus
Okay,
Russell.
explain that. I know we've talked about it before.
It
but for
takes
those that
into
might not know
account
the
down and
number.
distance, field position, home or away, time and score. It is the most all-encompassing metric that you can use to measure a quarterback.
This isn't hyperbole. This isn't some talking head hot take. According to Jason, these are the facts, numbers that should slam the door on any debate. But G. Bush, he wasn't buying it for a second. G. Bush came out swinging with a message that challenges the entire analytics movement. Numbers don't tell the whole story. He fired back with something every fan who's watched a struggling team knows all too well. Context matters more than anything.
Go watch what Kenny Pickett did the other week. He threw for like 5 yards. They told us he was the best option. Keep looking. Jackson Dart, I think he threw for like 32 yards yesterday. Like, maybe that was earth-shattering. Go look at Cam Ward and what his numbers are. His numbers have not been great the entire year.
This is where things got heated, because G. Bush wasn't just defending Shedeur. He was tearing apart the entire premise of judging a fifth-round rookie throwing behind the league's worst offensive line with 0 weapons in a completely broken offensive system. The offensive line, dead last in the NFL. The receivers getting the worst separation in the entire league. Quinshon Judkins, the starting running back, out with an injury. And somehow, Shedeur is supposed to overcome all of that. G. Bush made it crystal clear. You can't fairly evaluate a quarterback in complete isolation. Here's where this debate gets really interesting. Jason Lloyd leaned hard on EPA, expected points added, as the ultimate measure of quarterback play. For those who don't know, EPA calculates how much a quarterback's decisions increase or decrease their team's scoring chances on every single play. It factors in field position, down and distance, game situation, everything. By that metric, Shedeur Sanders is historically bad, the worst quarterback since 2000, according to Jason's data. But G. Bush fired back with a reality check that stopped everyone in their tracks.
We be sitting here and we be watching people all the time. I just watched the game Jackson Dart play, one of the worst games I've ever seen.
But G, I don't understand what Jackson Dart has to do with anything. We're not discussing whether Jackson Dart should be the starting quarterback.
No. What I'm saying to you is, I'm not talking about discussing. We look at EPA stats and numbers in a.
EPA doesn't account for scheme. It doesn't measure the talent around you. It ignores coaching quality. It doesn't consider whether your offensive coordinator is about to get fired. And most importantly, it completely overlooks development. This is where G. Bush really dialed up the pressure. He hammered home a point Shedeur supporters have been screaming for weeks. The standards keep changing. At first, critics said Shedeur couldn't operate within structure, that he was just a one-read gunslinger who couldn't run a pro-style system. Then he proved he could operate within structure. Against the Bills, his average depth of target was just 1.9 yards, the second lowest mark in 2 years. Everything was quick, underneath, on time.
The goalpost in the beginning was could not play in structure. What I'm saying is the narrative around Shedeur Sanders was he could not play in structure and he was a one-throw type guy, boom or bust deep, right? But guess what? He shows you on film. The next week, he's able to come out here and throw the ball on time. The next week, we talk about running backwards. The next week, he shows he can step up in the pocket. Cosell talked about it. There's multiple. I'm not the only one to say it. Chase Daniels talks about it. Multiple quarterbacks talk about it.
So what happened? The narrative shifted. Now it's all about EPA, about efficiency metrics, about whether he's a top 10 quarterback, an absurd bar for a fifth-round rookie making his fifth career start. And G. Bush called it exactly what it was. When you keep moving the goalposts, no quarterback can ever succeed. But here's where the conversation took an even darker turn. G. Bush pivoted to something Jason Lloyd actually agreed with. The Browns are trapped in an impossible situation, no matter which direction they go.
The Browns ain't even really in no position to take a quarterback if they wanted to. A quarterback in the same line and no weapons, you think you're going to get more than 4 wins? No, you're not getting more than 4 wins.
This is the nightmare scenario. If Andrew Berry remains his GM, and every indication says he will, he's facing a brutal fork in the road. Draft a quarterback at number 2 overall, and you're dumping all your draft capital into one position, while your offensive line stays garbage and your receiver room stays empty. Roll with Shedeur and build around him, and you're betting the entire franchise on a 5th-round pick who ranks among the statistically worst quarterbacks in modern NFL history. It's a lose-lose situation, and G. Bush laid it out in brutal, unflinching detail. In the middle of all this, the panel took a detour that actually revealed the real problem plaguing the Cleveland Browns. They started talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have had 3 head coaches in the last 55 years. They've made the playoffs in 22 of the past 33 seasons, despite stretches of mediocre quarterback play. Jason Lloyd dropped a statistic that should make every Cleveland fan sick. The Browns have only drafted a quarterback in the top 20 picks twice in the last 55 years. Tim Cush, Baker Mayfield. That's it. And both of them got the Browns to the playoffs.
Too late.
The Browns are the most dysfunctional team in the NFL. Period.
No.
Full stop. And yet people think that they're going to be the team that can take a late round pick and develop him. They can buck the odds and do something that very few other teams can do. No, they have to be handed a pretty close to finished product to have any chance at success.
That's the harsh truth. The Browns don't develop quarterbacks. They don't develop anyone. They're a permanently dysfunctional organization constantly chasing miracle solutions instead of building something that actually lasts. And that's why the Shedeur debate is so critical. This isn't just about evaluating one player. It's about whether this franchise has learned anything from decades of embarrassment. Let's get back to the core of this argument, because when you strip everything away, it comes down to one fundamental question. What do you trust more? What you see on film or what the numbers say? Jason Lloyd trusts the numbers. And to be fair, they're ugly. Shedeur's EPA is historically terrible. His touchdown-to-interception ratio raises concerns. His performance in high-pressure situations has been inconsistent. But G. Bush trusts what he watches on tape, and what he sees is a quarterback showing legitimate growth, who's learning to work the pocket, who's displaying accuracy on deep balls, who's led the team in rushing 3 straight weeks.
When you are evaluating a quarterback on a bad team, you have to take what you can and extrapolate and say, can I get better with this guy? Can this guy get better? Does he show me the tools and traits, whether it's his acumen throwing the football, or does the team rally around him, that I could say with improvements here, here, and here, and a new play caller and what we want to do?
This is the core of the disagreement. Jason sees a finished product that doesn't measure up. G. Bush sees a developmental prospect with genuine upside. And here's the truth. Both perspectives could be completely valid. So where does that leave us? The Browns are picking in the top 2. They have a legitimate shot at drafting Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, 2 quarterbacks widely considered more NFL ready than anyone on Cleveland's roster. Jason Lloyd's stance is absolutely clear. If you're picking number 2, you have to take a quarterback. The chances of finding a franchise QB outside the top 10 are razor thin, and the Browns have proven they can't develop late-round picks into stars. But G. Bush's position is just as firm. You can't keep hitting the reset button. You can't keep burning first-round picks on quarterbacks while ignoring the offensive line, the receivers, the entire foundation you need to actually win football games.
When you look at the people in front of them, that goes into it. The offensive line is the worst in the league statistically, and that's not even debatable. When you take a look at the receiving core, they get the least amount of separation. They don't catch the ball when it's open.
And that's the impossible corner the Browns have painted themselves into, because both arguments make sense. The reality, this franchise is so fundamentally broken that it doesn't matter who they draft. Until they fix the culture, until they establish sustainable infrastructure, until they stop making catastrophic decisions at the highest levels, they'll keep wasting talent and ruining careers. Shedeur Sanders might be the guy. He might not. But the real problem isn't at quarterback. It's the organization that's been destroying quarterbacks for 3 straight decades. Nothing changes until everything changes. And Cleveland fans, they understand that better than anyone.